Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's Anniversaire de Historique for race 7 of 9 from the Croix B2 circuit. Let's take a look at the current championship standings. And leading the way on 107 points is Mitch. First time he's had a chance of fighting for the title. In second place, SGP on 94 points. Not too far away is Demon R in third on 88, and Steve F1 is not tied third, but he's on 83. Conrad is in fifth place on 60 points, and Fluffy is on 48, while Dave the Harp is in seventh on 40, and Twilight is in eighth on 36. Jason is in ninth place on 35 points, while Rich Blues is in 10th on 32, and he's only 5 ahead of Bunsel, who's in 11th, and then we've got Formula Gary and Jimmy both tied on 21 points in 12th place. In 14th is Tyler on 18 points and SRI on 13 in 15th place, and then we've got Hay in 16th on 2 points. Okay, let's have a look at the qualifying result for race 7 then, and let's see who is on pole position. And this time around it's going to be SGP who takes the pole with a time of 1 minute 53.451, gets 3/10 ahead of Mitch, who joins him on the front row. On row 2 we'll see Steve F1 line up just ahead of Demon R with a 153.751 and a 153.799, very close between second, third and fourth on the lap times there. Row 3 we'll see Conrad line up against Fluffy Planet, Fluffy just outside of the 1 minute 53s with Connor just inside them. On row 4 we'll see Dave the Harp line up alongside Formula Gary in P7 and P8. And then in row 5 for P9 it's Twilight with his very dramatic livery lining up alongside Jimmy with his very simplistic livery in P10. Row 6 we'll see a debut for a new driver, ArtPal16, driving a white car in the race, but his livery has now been revealed, and he'll line up alongside Hay. On row 7 we've got Bunsel up alongside SRI, and then on row 8 two drivers who couldn't get a lap time set in qualifying. There's Rich Blues alongside Jason. Okay, enough of my waffle, let's head over to the racetrack and the commentary team. And joining me on commentary here at Croix, it's Connor. Nice to have you back, Connor. Where you been?
Satnav got lost last week, Dave. I wish I was here last week. It looked like a good one and it looked like the guys enjoyed it, so here we go.
Yeah, last week the guys did alright, but they're no Connor, that's for sure. What we've got here today though is SGP on pole position ahead of his championship rival Mitch as they get underway towards the start finish line. We're in for a 50-minute race around a very tricky course, but it's SGP that's going to get us underway as he plants that throttle and away he goes. It's a decent start for him. Mitch is right behind him. It looks like Conrad though has got a problem.
Yeah, he's very slow off the start there. He's dropped down to outside of the top 10 now before the first corner's even arrived.
Yeah, that he has. Steve F1 nearly running a little bit wide there. Fluffy also getting a little bit wide through turn 1. Mitch has got a decent run on SGP though through the S's as they're known. It's a bit of an odd S's, but a section of corners, Connor, that is absolutely flat out if you get the line right.
It's horrible as well because the start of it's a blind crest, so if you don't get the turning point right for the first point, then you're struggling throughout the rest of it to try and make the time.
Yeah, definitely. And following that is a tricky little hairpin onto the back straight here, which isn't straight. It's not the Grand Tour isn't straight. It just isn't straight. Yeah, into an uphill left-hander before a nasty right-hander into the bridge. A corner.
That failed of lavender then?
I don't know.
Failed of sheep.
It could have been, yeah. Yeah, it is,
yeah, failed of lavender.
Yeah. Field of Lavender and the bridge, I don't know, Granny's Bridge. Yeah, I was going to say the right-hander before the bridge. It's a corner where historically we've seen a lot of crashes, and it tends to be the exit of the corner is where we'll see a few drivers perhaps hitting the bridge. As Mitch coming under pressure now from Steve F1.
Yeah, Steve F1 seems to have caught up in the latter stages of this lap. He wasn't there through the first sector, but he's definitely gained a few going through that long left-hander as he's actually looking to make a move on Mitch now.
Aye, that he is. I mean, really an interesting situation here for these leading three. Mitch is leading the championship. SGP is right behind him, but Mitch in the pound seat really, because he doesn't need to beat SGP, whereas SGP does need to beat him. Steve F1 though hasn't won a race yet this championship, and I don't think he's too happy about that. SGP going defensive into turn one though.
Yeah, he doesn't need to do that at the minute because Steve F1's all over Mitch, but we have got side by side and a change for the lead, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, SGP trying to fight it back through the S's. They're still side by side. This could give Steve F1 an opportunity, actually, unless he's going to just play a sense. Yeah, he's staying well away from the battle. As Mitch now going up the inside into the hairpin. He's taken the lead, but he's now going to be compromised down the back straight. When you mentioned there that SGP didn't need to go defensive, as soon as he did, it compromised his outright speed.
Yeah, now Steve F1 maybe going to give Mitch a push to try and get past as well.
That he is, and looks like SGP is going to be hung in to dry, not out to dry, because he's on the inside of the corner. Mitch makes it all the way around the outside. Steve F1 can't get it done though. SGP, is he going defensive or attacking? He's going defensive, but that battle has just allowed Demon R to close in on them, as long as he doesn't hit the bridge. And then we've got a little bit of a gap back to David Harper and Fluffy, as Conrad has got himself back into the top 8.
Yeah, lap 2 now, and it seems like the top 4 are starting to break away. Well, Demon R looks like he's trying to stay with them, but he's not quite there yet, and if they keep fighting, he'll be certainly trying to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the interesting things in the DGT League. When the battles happen at the front, it can cost the drivers some time, and it does allow, well, I mean, it doesn't matter what position you're in, if you're battling, you're losing time. As in the background, David Harper and Fluffy are battling, and they're going to get caught up pretty quickly by the pack if they're not careful. So yeah, these leading three, if they fight, Demon R will be on them. If they don't fight, they may be able to pull away, because they've had a pace advantage over him, as Fluffy is now ahead of David Harper, and then we've got the whole pack coming through the final corner.
Yeah, I was busy coming through that final corner there. It definitely looked like someone caught the wall. SGP is going to try and have a look at Mitch through these S's, and he wants to be careful because it's a tight corner. You see the new guy Ark Pal going, he's getting used to it. He's just shoving someone in the wall to say I'm here.
Yeah, I think Hay may have been making an overtaking into the first couple of corners there. It's all getting a little bit physical now as we
that livery makes his car look like a Tesla concept or something. I don't know what it is. It just turns the car into something it's not.
Well, I do know that it is only a temporary livery for him, because he was only offered the opportunity to race, I think about 2 hours before the race. Although
it was Tyler dropped out, was it?
It was, yeah. Tyler unable to race. SGP just tagged the wall, give Steve F1 a bit of an opportunity here. But I do know that Arpal has been doing a bit of practice on his own, and Steve F1 making the move, heading down to the bridge. SGP is going to want to make sure he doesn't hit the wall, and he avoids it. But now SGP is going to have the inside line on the exit of the bridge, but may be compromised on the uphill bit after it though.
Yeah, it's a very tricky corner to try and go side by side, because a little dip just where SGP caught it there, and it just takes you wide, and he just managed to get the car turned in on the back of, as we see Arpal in the wall as well, on that tricky corner as the rest of them pile through. But this looks like it's going to be a big race at the back. There seems to be a whole gaggle of cars fighting for 7th or 8th.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, when we look at it here, we've got Dave the Harp now just ahead of Conrad, and then the pack. And I mean, we know the pack is a feature in the DGT League. It may be a bigger feature here than any of the other races this championship we've seen so far. Interestingly though, Mitch has just blasted out a big gap now between himself and Steve F1 and SGP. But looking here at the pack, Fluffy's managed to break away a bit from Dave the Harp, which is going to put Dave under a bit of pressure as we're into minute 6 of this race, and we're only 3 laps in. About 2 minutes a lap. Well, really, 154s I think is average race pace, but yeah, nearly 2 minutes a lap, so it's not going to be the most amount of laps we'll see all season. But sweeping through the S's at full speed there, Dave the Arm nearly chopped Conrad's nose off.
Yeah, don't know what. Don't think Gary was attempting an overtake there, as he just gets on the inside of Conrad and and rubs a bit of paint off. But yeah, this guy's behind. They're going to go 3 abreast as they go through this little kink there. There's Jason in the middle of Jimmy and Rich. So Rich and Jimmy, best friends, teaming up to try and put Jason off there. The Swedish doesn't like it.
Aye. Demon Oz managed to close in on the back of SGP now and Steve F1, so with them squabbling, that gap has come down. Holy
shit.
I mean, to be fair, if everybody gets through this corner without hitting anything or anyone, I'll be amazed. And to
it's
be
that
fair,
little fence that sticks out, isn't it? I think a few people get caught out in practice.
Yeah. Well, there's two
they're not aware of it, really.
Well, there's 2 factors to it. The corner, with it being an uphill braking zone, it's tempting to brake way too late. If you brake over the crest of the hill, it's too late. You can easily ram people. But yeah, if you end up getting out a little bit wide and you catch that barrier, it can be absolutely devastating as they're still 3 wide. What I will say, though, is, obviously, we're seeing usually not the regular, that's the wrong word, the same kind of drivers in the pack majority of the time. But what I would say is, for any of the new guys, or even some of the regulars, I would have to be begging the question, around a track like this, if there was one corner that you do not want to be making an overtake into, it's the hairpin before the back straight. Because if you overtake people in that corner, they're going to drive past you on the straight.
Yeah, it's the same as when we were talking about the last corner at Spa.
Yeah.
Or the first corner as well. You suffer all the way up a Rouge because you've overtaken someone, but they're going to get a hell of a run on you. And it's a long straight, that up Eau Rouge, if you can take it flat as well.
Yeah, definitely. So here now is Jimmy making the move on Jason. Jason's saying, okay mate, no worries, because I'm just going to drive straight back past you. He's already got back past, and Rich now making a move on Jimmy as well. So yeah, I would definitely say to a few of the drivers, you may want to have a think about where you're making a move on occasion, but it's also not that easy to lift off the throttle, especially when you're in this situation.
This situation where you've got four guys going on the same corner and Rich trying to join in as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is where Jimmy's. Oh yeah, I don't know if he got hit or what, but yeah, he definitely missed the corner there and went spinning around. David Hart trying to take a bit of a tight line, still battling with Conrad. I mean, interestingly, for Conrad and David Hart at the moment, if these guys don't battle, they can creep out a bit of a gap like Fluffy has. But if they do fight too much, they're going to come under pressure. Art Pound now all over the back of David Hart and Jason there as well.
Yeah, Conrad's just recovering from that first lap mystery. He's just getting back. He's just getting past Dave the Harp. I was actually going to mention that he'd sort of got through the rest of the pack, but he'd come up on the back of Dave and he just seemed to be at a stalemate. But he might be able to get away now and try and get after Fluffy. But I would just want to see what the guys at the front are doing. But at the minute we are watching this battle as Art Pal, the new guy, is going to have a look at Dave the Harp now.
Oh, that he is making a move towards the inside into turn 1. Gary behind him as well, and then Arpal does get the move done. As can he avoid the wall? Yes, he can. Hay can't though. He attacks the wall quite substantially. So yeah, David Hart losing another place. I wonder if he may be struggling a little bit with tyres. Looked like Gary had a bit of lag there as well. Or either that was just the speed of the cars and the way they're moving about. I must admit, going through this set of corners all on your own is fantastic. Going through them 2 or 3 wide, yeah, a bit horrifying really.
Yeah, I don't think a few of the drivers are like them when the tyres start showing a bit of red on them either.
Ooh, yeah.
Someone off there?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was Gary. Was it Formula Gary maybe?
It may have been. And you know what, I was talking a moment ago about tyres. I'm wondering if Mitch has hit a bit of a rocky patch with his tyres. Steve F1's got into the 53s. Mitch was 53s, just dropped into the 54s. And Steve F1 has really closed the gap on Mitch.
Yeah, we saw that SGP and Steve F1 were battling, and now it looks like Mitch is dropping into Steve F1 and actually SGP's dropping into the clutches of Demon R as well.
Oh, that it could be. David Harp's also lost a couple of places over the last lap or so. Fluffy, into the barrier. No, he'd got a gap. He was safe, but that contact with the barrier there is going to put him under pressure from Conrad. Conrad's going to sweep round the outside. That'll be move done. Fluffy could find himself getting swamped now if he's hurt his tyres a little bit too much there. I think Gary was just put to the wall there, was he?
He'll be certainly not happy if he did, but I don't know if that was Dave the Harp just defending a bit a bit on the inside there, but Gary's going to recover now and try and have a look down the straight as we've got the bumper man that is Bunsell behind them. So anybody's guess who's going to come out on this on top.
Well, interestingly, Demon R is pitted. Can he get it? There he is. He's coming out next to Fluffy and Conrad. And is Conrad going to get sweeping around the outside? I don't think he can quite get it done. Interestingly, Demon R pitting a little bit early there, but maybe it was to get out ahead of these two. But he's now on cold tyres as these two are side by side. If they don't smash into each other, I'll be amazed. And they don't manage to do that. But yeah, they've got the opportunity now with warm tyres. Yeah, they may have an opportunity of pouncing on Demon R here.
Yeah, Conrad's got a good run actually if he can stay in the slipstream. But we see Arpal on the back of Fluffy now, so Fluffy's gap that he did have to the pack has been tarnished, and he's got them all over his bumper as Arpal makes a move on the inside.
Can't quite get it done though. Yeah, I think Fluffy had the slipstream. But yeah, I mean, as soon as Fluffy had that error on the previous lap, it's just put him in a whole world of trouble. As I am pretty sure we're seeing a bit of lag on the screen. Oh, Arpal a little bit too aggressive. But yeah, that's compromised himself more than anything else in that one. So yeah, that's dropped him almost all the way to the back of the pack. Jason now behind Fluffy as somebody got a little bit sideways there. I think it was Twilight. And David Harp sparking up against the barriers.
He can't help it around every track, can he? He has to find somewhere to light his tail.
Oh yeah, definitely. He wouldn't be Dave without it. I think though, Demon R, that pit stop potentially a little bit early, but I don't know. You see, if I'm SGP, who was not that far ahead of Demon R, if Demon R is now catching SGP on the fresher tyres, then SGP is stuffed. He can't pit yet, because if he does, he's coming out into the pack. Oh, big crash!
Twilight. Oh, that's a horrible place to go off as well.
That it is. I don't know if that was assisted or not, but
I think he tried to avoid the guys in front. I don't know if he carried a bit more speed, but he just seemed to move over to the right to avoid, and he just got on the grass.
Ooh, someone else into the barrier there as well. Yeah, I mean, I thought something really funny to say then, and I just completely. Oh, that was it. Yeah. I'm not sure if he was carrying more speed, but he was definitely carrying more direction.
He was all over.
He was.
Definitely direction. It wasn't one direction, but it was many directions.
Are you getting on to celebrities now? Hey, here's a question for you. Name a beautiful, like proper, beautiful female actress. It's got you thinking, hasn't it, now? For you at home, think of one as well. I mean, I see, when I think of proper beautiful actors, there's only really two that come to mind for me. And they're both called Jessica.
Right.
But I'm interested to see you. Oh, hey, into the bridge. Oh, into Granny's bridge. A disaster for Hay. This really baffled Janet.
Yeah.
Trying to name a beautiful female actress. Come on.
Mary Berry.
Bloody hell.
Got a lovely soggy bottom.
Yeah, she loves a soggy bottom. So, okay, well, you're not rising to the occasion. See what I did there. Yeah, for me.
Oh, God.
For me, Jessica Alba. Oh, stunner. And the other is Jessica Biel. But I've gone off Jessica Biel because she said she won't call any of her kids Batman.
Right. You set yourself up well there. Yeah. You set yourself up there, didn't you?
Oh, I did, yeah. I worked on that for 2 days.
We're starting to see a couple of pit stops now as well, David. I think Conrad's just come in.
If anyone's still sat there, I don't get it, Batmobile.
It'll be on 50 minutes where everyone goes, yeah, Batmobile.
Sorry, I got another Batman one for in a couple of minutes. Okay, Steve F1 has closed in again on the back of Mitch. Let's see, Steve F1's lap times dropped into the 54s, but consistent. Do we reckon we're looking at a one stop here today, Connor, or do you think it'll be a 2? I mean, Demon R's doing a 2, surely.
Medium tyres and it's a long lap. I mean, I think Conrad's pitted on 15, 16 minutes, so he's definitely doing a 2-stop. But I mean, I think SGP, he normally does a 1-stop, doesn't he? So I think for him, I don't think Mitch can. I know Mitch works the tyres quite harder than everyone else, but yeah, I definitely think SGP is possible to do 1-stop.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think for anybody that's in the pack, I think we could see people doing 2s, 3s, because you got the advantage of the boost. So it's worth pitting on occasion. If you're up at the front in this battle, though, it's a tricky one, because if you go for the 2-stop, okay, you're going to lose a bit of time. Okay, Mitch, you're going for the pit. Steve F1, that pretty much looked like Steve F1 was, whatever you do, I'm doing the opposite.
Yeah, so I expect Steve F1 to try and light the timing screens up here and then come in if he is, but I'm not sure as Conrad's on the back of Jason now.
Yeah, right behind them is Jimmy and the pack. Fluffy, since Fluffy tagged the barrier, he's had nothing but pressure on him now. He will be kicking himself. Jason goes a little bit wide. That's going to give Jimmy the opportunity. Conrad survives, heading towards the S's. Hey, nearly finds the barriers. Art Power right in the mix of this as well, alongside Twilight, as Jimmy tucks in behind Jason, realising that, 2x2 through there. Perhaps not the best way to go about it, but Jason's going to go for a bit of a switch back, is he? But Fluffy's there. Where is he?
Don't you love it when a new guy joins and he just joined the pack like straight away, as if we haven't got enough cars fighting over 7th place.
To be fair, the thing is, everybody that has joined as well and has ended up experiencing the pack, there's nothing else like it, really.
But I agree, it goes one of 2 ways.
Yeah.
You either get spat out or you manage to stay in and have a good race.
Yeah. I think a few of the drivers have definitely been spat out in this one. I mean, Fluffy is going to be kicking himself, dropping back into this situation. But this is where timing of a pit stop could be crucial for people in the pack. So, I mean, Fluffy's got a little bit of a gap now. If he can just focus on going forwards, it'll be okay. But for everybody else, if you can pit 2 laps or a lap before everybody else in the pack does, that's where you can gain loads of time. So, for example, Steve F1 is Art Palmer trying to make the move on at Jason. As we know, Jason is a tough character to break down, as he put in his post-race comments last week. He really enjoys high racing and high flying, which is a good thing, because low flying is crashing.
Yeah, hoping that he does enjoy high flying, because he's is he a pilot? No, he's a pilot.
He is, he's a pilot.
That's
why I said he likes high flying. Ooh, bit of contact. I think Art Pal got a wiggle on.
Disappeared off into the last corner again.
Yeah.
He recovers a bit better this time though. As he actually pits as well.
Yeah, he's heading into the pits. I don't blame him on this one. Hey, having a look up the inside of Dave the Harp. I'm not sure you really want to be going 3 wide into turn 1, and he does back out of it. Dave realised he was there and has ended up losing the position to Art Pal, but it's not a bad situation to find yourself in at the moment, really, as Jimmy's all over the back of Dave the Harp. I mean, it is fascinating watching these guys absolutely go at it. I mean, we mentioned on commentary last week how sort of calm and collected it appears to be up at the front, and then how chaotic it appears to be in the pack. But who was Rich Big sideways? Can he save it? You talk about it. But, Jimmy got a little bit of a tank slapper on there, mate. Got a little bit of a knock on the door from Dave the Arp and Arp into the barrier, but 2x2 they're going to go. But yeah, I mean, we're only, 20 minutes into the race, and the pack has been absolutely constant all the way through so far, and I'm pretty sure it will be until the end of the race. Interestingly, though, Steve F1, Jimmy's not making that.
No, he's straight off there. He probably got caught underneath someone's wing and couldn't see the braking zone, but yeah, he's gone straight off. And now he's got Rich all over his back end. I think as Apple pulls out from the back of Dave the Harp, he's going to go for the outside line.
He's got a little bit sideways though. He's managed to survive it. I mean, he's on a pad, so he may. I mean, it's one thing as well. There's a big difference between practicing on your own and being in the pack. There's a big difference to Steve F1. He didn't come in 1 lap after Mitch. He's come in 2 laps later, 3 laps later, I think it is.
Yeah, and Mitch is there as well. Mitch has put in two good laps, and he's right on the back of SGP now.
Yeah.
I think this just proves that SGP is going to do a 1-stop. And maybe could Steve F1 get away with doing a Or is he's left it quite late if he wants to do a 2-stop.
Yeah, if he wants to do a 2-stop, he kind of has left it a little bit late, but at the same time, he's come out ahead of Demon R, and Mitch is currently sort of held up a little bit behind SGP, so maybe Steve F1 has timed it quite well. If he's going for the 1-stop, 30 minutes on the set tyres, Mitch has just tagged the back of SGP. Yes, he has, so maybe not able to get the move done on this occasion. Which, I mean, in a way, SGP needs to do whatever he can to hold Mitch up, really, but that's not the way to do it.
No, Mitch's superior grip there, he just was able to keep it tight when SGP went wide, and he should be off and away down the road now.
Yeah, definitely, with the fresher tyres. I mean, brand new tyres now compared to SGP's tyres, yeah, big difference, as Rich was testing out the friction levels on the barrier.
Fluffy's been caught in the pack again, or is he pitted, because he's done a 2:07. On lap 11, so I don't know if that's a pit stop or he's made a big mistake.
I think that may be a pit stop. I think it was nearly into the bridge there. Yeah, he may have had a bit of an error because Twilight pitted. No, he may have pitted because Twilight pitted, didn't he? And Twilight is just ahead of him. More Fluffy moving over the road a little bit. Hay trying to squeeze through as well. I think he came from a little bit too far back on that occasion. And Gary's into the barrier. See, this is one of the risks of when things get a little bit too frantic in the pack, as SGP now going for the pits. So now if he's 2-stopping, that's a very late stop. I think he'll try the 1-stop. I mean, yeah, 27 minutes. Okay, it's still nearly 30, but I think we'll wait and see on that one, really.
Yeah, 27 minutes is a long time to do a race stint on them tyres. So we'll have to wait and see what he's like at the end. But Conrad's on his own in 5th now. He seems to have managed to get away.
Yeah, well, to see, that's what I was kind of on about earlier with Fluffy, whereas if he was able to just hold that gap, he would have been safe because he was ahead of Conrad, but that wasn't to be. And the thing is as well, for the drivers in the pack, if they're wondering how the likes of SGP or Steve F1 can do 27 or 30 minutes on a set of tyres, well, the difference is they're not having to cope with all of this, and they're not pushing the tyres too hard. They're not even
calm and collected back here.
Yeah, so no one's off the track.
No, not yet.
Waiting for it.
We've got about 6 cars coming up to this left-hander, so that's 5. And Bunsel's going to join in as well. Why not?
I think Bunsel may be wise enough to I think Twilight just tagged the back foot there. Yeah, I think Bunsel was actually wise enough to think, you know what, I'll just hang back a minute here. But
yeah, Fluffy's actually gained out of that because
Twilight hasn't.
Twilight hasn't gained out of that, definitely. But Dave the Harp and Jason, no, it's not. It's Fluffy actually and Jimmy coming up between them, side by side across the bridge. They're going to come in this left-hander with a few cars looking to make a move. Sideways action there.
I think both Fluffy and Dave were pushing the limits of grip there, and Dave's not quite got away with it as well as Fluffy has. But this is where you kind of need that calmness and collectiveness. Fluffy now has an opportunity. If he focuses on being calm and collected through the corners and maximising his speed, he can break away, just like Dave can. But Dave's just been sideways through the last 3 corners. That's now going to compromise him. The pack will be on him going into the S's, and he's sideways again.
Yeah, what we were saying about compromising as he hits the wall as well. He's going to hit, I think, as well and get out of that as Jason pits as well.
Yeah. See, the interesting thing there is that, I mean, Dave's been sideways a few times there, and he may be thinking, my tyres are done. But he's also probably going sideways because he's braking a bit too late, or perhaps going a bit too aggressively on the downshifts and locking up the rear axle and getting himself sideways, and then he is going to want to be sideways in the next corner. But I can understand somebody in that situation going, well, I need to push hard to break away and get away from these madmen.
Yeah, that's the thing that happens sometimes. Sometimes people think because they're in the pack, that's why he's going to be careful to rejoin there, but he manages to get on okay. I think the people who get in the pack who don't want to be there try and push, try and get out of it, where it's actually about being smooth and just concentrating on your own races. Our pal's going to try and use the wall to get round the outside there.
that he is. Hay looks like he's going to try the same. But yeah, I mean, so looking at Hay and Jimmy now, if either of these get their braking point right for this corner, Bunsell hasn't. Or Jimmy's going to be wide. He got away with it. Okay, Jimmy's just about got away with it. So Jimmy gets through the corner quite quick. He's made the move, but if he can now do the same in the next corner and then the next braking zone, he'll manage to open up a little bit of a gap. But instead, Powell's gone in there a little bit too hot, tagged the back of him. Jimmy survived, but maybe a little bit compromised now. No, I think he'll get away with it. I think he'll be all right. But if he can get his braking point right for this right-hander, a lot of rights here. Then he's got an opportunity to break away still.
Yeah, he hasn't got a good run out of there, as I think Hayes got another run on him now, and the rest of the guys aren't that far away, so he needs to be careful. See, he dips a couple of wheels on the grass.
Yeah.
Maybe just looking in the mirrors there, going down that straight to see where everyone is. But yeah, he didn't get a clean run off that corner, as we see Twilight pitting again.
Yeah, so again though, look, for Jimmy now, if he gets a good run through turn one, it can be far enough ahead through the S's that he won't be under attack into the hairpin, but he's had a bad run through turn one. SGP though, we're heading back up to the front four after his pit stop. He's now closing in on the back of Demon R. Demon R pitted, I think 11 minutes into the race, so SGP making the move. Demon R not fighting that one at all, but I suppose in the situation they're in, they're not really against each other in the championship at the moment, and they're on two very different strategies as somebody is off into the barrier. I think that's Hay.
Yeah, it's Hayes off there as Twilight's going to maybe get a run on him and overtake him as we go back to Arpal, who's having a very good first race. He's in with a chance of getting some decent points this week.
But if he slows down by half a second, he could get none.
Great putback.
Oh yeah,
it's a great putback. Yeah.
Is he going to try and make a move on Jimmy? No, Jimmy going defensive. Not bad.
Over the cutback again. If he gets a good run out of here, he's just gone a little bit wide there.
Oh, Gary was so lucky he got wide there. He managed to just about miss the wall, I think. Arpal coming under pressure now from David Harp up the inside. Rich behind him, Jason behind Dave. 2 by 2 they go. A little bit of contact between Arpal and Dave the Arp. And into the, I think it was the barrier that spun him there.
Yeah, it's that red barrier that's just sticking out there. He just managed to get it. There's 2 of them off there. I think that was Gary was the other one that was off there in the background.
Maybe he's saying he was close to crashing on the bridge and thought I'll crash after it instead. So Jimmy survived that particular lap but again it's one of those situations where there's definitely a bit of I don't know what the right word is. There's definitely not calmness here, that's for sure.
Panic.
Yes, yeah, sheer dread.
Oh, Fluffy's going
to
come out in between them again. Fluffy seems to be, he's just one lap away from pushing and letting them fight and getting out ahead of them.
Yeah. And the
now
thing is,
look where he is now. Yeah,
right in the pack on a cold set of brand new tyres, which he's going to struggle to slow down if he's not careful. He may get away with that round the outside of Jason, Twilight up the inside of Jason as well. But the thing is, Fluffy's made the move into that hairpin, but now he's got 2 cars right up his chuck that are going to be attacking him. I must admit, I think if I was in Fluffy's ear, other than telling him to clean them, I'd probably be telling him, don't pit. Just stay out a bit, mate. Looking at his lap times, if he pitted on lap 11 and lap 15, he's only doing 5 laps. That's not even 10 minutes.
Yeah, lap 8 as well. Lap 8, 11 and lap 15.
Yeah.
So he seems to be, I don't know whether he's seeing a bit of tyre wear and then just going, I don't want to lose too much time and then coming in. Because he's, we're just over halfway and he's already done 3 stops.
That we know of. There may have been 2 more before that.
I think there was 1 more before that, so yeah.
Well, interesting.
4 stops.
Yeah, Demon R heading in to the pits for his second stop. We can see the gap that SGP's opened up on him as well. Conrod's going to go through and take that 4th place off Demon R. So Conrad, after the unfortunate shocking start, has managed to break away from everybody else, and this is the interesting thing with Connor in that situation, or Dave. See, that big tank slap has now compromised him. He's got lucky that Jimmy's just smashed his head against the barrier, but Yeah, I don't know if that's a situation of pushing too hard or whatever it may be, but yeah, but I kind of seeing people compromise themselves a lot.
Yeah, they seem to be able to get in front, but they cannot stay there. They think, right, I'm in front, I need to push and get away, and then they make a mistake and they're right at the back again.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas when Conrad got to the head of the pack, he just seemed to focus on where he was going and was able to pull away. Okay, what we've got now, Steve F1 with 18 minutes to go has caught up to the back of Mitch. I think Mitch is still going to have another pit stop to do, which could be any time soon. When did he pit? It was about 16 minutes gone, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it'll be this lap. I've got a feeling he'll come in this lap and maybe try it again and go in early, and then using the fresh tyres, because I think he's got a good gap to SGP now. So if he comes out, we should have a bit of fresh air. These guys certainly don't have fresh air.
No, they don't. So Fluffy has managed to get himself up then to the 7th place. Is he going to be attacking Dave the Arp? No, Dave goes defensive. Fluffy goes very aggressive. Too aggressive into the barrier.
Socially distancing there.
Yeah, and he's hit that orange barrier that you mentioned a couple of laps ago that we saw Art Pal hit. And unfortunately for Fluffy, I'll get on to that in a moment actually, because Steve F1 is now attacking Mitch. Mitch didn't pit, did he? Conrad has though. So Conrad and Demon R have both done their final pit stops, but Steve F1 in a brilliant position at the moment to really put some pressure on Mitch. Mitch in an interesting situation, because if SGP is one stopping, they've got a bit of a gap to him, and if they pit, they're probably going to come out right behind him, but on much fresher tyres. So for Mitch, he's not in a lost situation at the moment.
What's the pit loss on this track? About 7 to 8 seconds, is it?
In total, yeah, it's about 4 or 5 seconds in the pits, but once you sort of factor in getting in and getting going again on the way out, yeah, it's about 7 seconds.
So I think that gap between them is between 4 to 5. Between 4 and 5 between them is SGP coming into the braking zone for that bridge now. There, he's on the bridge, so yeah, probably about around 4 or 5 seconds between them.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and interesting to see Steve go a little bit aggressive on the braking zone there. He's really pushing towards the end of this stint, if it is a 2-stop stint. I mean, we did wonder whether Steve was late pitting on a 2-stop strategy, or whether he was going to try and do 30 minutes on this set of tyres. Because I think it was 21 minutes was when Steve F1 pitted, and he's making the move.
I thought it was quite late for a 2-stop.
Yeah. He's trying to get Mitch out of position there. Interestingly though, Steve, look at that, the amount of road that was on the left hand side there, and Steve F1 had no intention of attacking into that final corner, because it's not where he would be able to gain the most out of making the move. But maybe Steve F1's sort of going a little bit tactically, is making the move now on Mitch into turn 1, and then Mitch is going to be right up his gearbox through the S's, maybe re-attack into the hairpin, which will give Steve the slipstream down the back straight. So we'll see if that happens. But also, if Steve F1 is aware that Mitch is going to burn up his tyres a little bit more towards the end of the stints, maybe that's why he went a little bit longer, because with Mitch having sort of hurt his tyres a little bit more, Steve was able to continue doing consistent lap times and perhaps work a bit of race pace back towards himself in that. I think I know what I meant.
That gap between third and second's considerably less as well on this lap. So, and I think Steve F1 just got away from Mitch's in that first sector as well once he'd overtaken him. So I think Mitch is struggling now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Mitch heading into the pits very, very soon. For the pack, though, Dave Harper's once again, he's at the head of the pack. I'm sure Fluffy will be telling him to speed up. Steve F1, I mean, yeah, I'm looking at Mitch's lap times. He was doing 54s and then dropped into the 55s on that last lap. SGP still doing 53s, was doing 54s and 53s, and in the pack, looking at Gary's lap times, 52, 213, 213, 148, 147.
That's a long pit stop.
It is, isn't it? I wonder if he had to reverse and change his rear wing in there as well or something. But yeah, I mean, it's very difficult though to be consistent with your lap times when you are in the pack, especially if you're Dave the Harp heading towards the barrier on the bridge.
Because 1 minute you could have a free runner's boost, and then the next minute you're this.
Yeah.
So it's about finding the balance. Is it going to go 4? Ooh, Dave the Harp straight on there.
He may have been assisted.
Big crash.
It was. Steve F1 and Mitch have pitted, by the way. SGP has taken the lead of the race, just. So, Steve F1 is going to come out ahead of Mitch. They both have pitted at the same time. If I'm Steve F1 now, I'm thinking, okay, he's got better tyre wear than Mitch. Mitch, though, has had fantastic pace in the early stages of the stints, but they both need to get past SGP. I think might be a bit of a sitting duck. Twilight now leading the pack with Fluffy right up his chuff as Gary runs a little bit wide through the final corner, and interestingly Gary runs a little bit wide and now he's being passed by 3 cars down the main straight. It's all about keeping the car in the right place on the track.
Yeah, I think Jimmy pitted there as well, so a few of the guys in the pack, I don't know if they've got I know Fluffy will probably have 4 stops left in the last 13 minutes of this race, but I reckon a few of them might have a couple of stops to make. As we see Fluffy going through, and Arpal just ran the outside of Gary there. Gary goes a bit wide and actually compromises himself and gets passed by Rich as well.
Oh, Arpal dipping a wheel, Rich dipping a wheel, Gary dipping a wheel, synchronised tank slapping there.
I was just about to say that as well, perfect timing.
It was, wasn't it? Dave the Arp also managed to slip through just about, so recovering. He's now, though, getting closer to the bridge that he's almost hit a few times already. Fluffy, big deep. That's lost him the position to Arpal. Maybe able to attack back up the hill, but he's going to have to be a little bit careful because he's got the pack behind him. Oh, I'm wondering if Arpal let Fluffy through there. Maybe Arpal had hit Fluffy and was letting him back through, because it looked like Fluffy came from,
I don't know, I have seen Arpal seems to like an early braking and then get the run out of the corner, so I don't know if he was trying his cut back again and just got it wrong, but Fluffy's managed to slip through. They went side by side across the bridge, but Fluffy just get the manoeuvre done in the braking zone as we see Gary and Dave the Harp side by side.
Yeah, Rich is there as well. Oh, Gary making a little bit of a dart over to the left. Davey Arp trying to squeeze up the inside of Arpal, and they're going to go side by side down towards the final corner. That's going to put them both under pressure now from Gary, who might try and make it 3 wide but can't because he's dipped a wheel on the grass. Arpal's a little bit compromised here, but Dave's going to have to be careful that he doesn't run out into the wall, just like Fluffy has ahead as Twilight heads into the pit. So once again, Fluffy's had the opportunity to break away a little bit but ends up tagging the barrier.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a gap now, so if he concentrates now and gets a good run through these next 2 corners, he could be starting to get away. But we'll see whether he pushes too hard. But yeah, Jimmy, after his pit stops, on the back of Dave the Harp now, so he's quickly got through a few guys, and he actually goes around the outside.
That's nice,
superior tyre grip there, you just seeing the difference.
Interestingly, Fluffy's managed to open up a little. Oh, and Arpal's gone wide, and so is Jimmy.
They both have. That's what happens as well. A few of them make a mistake, and they've ended up right at the back again. So Jimmy's got to do it all over again with dirt on his tyres, and the same as Arpal.
Yeah. But for Fluffy, that was a bit of a lifesaver. I mean, you only really need to be 7 tenths ahead to break the slipstream, which Fluffy has now got. So Fluffy, as Gary tags Rich into the barrier, Fluffy just now needs to make sure he makes no mistakes and he'll be okay. Give it 3,
definitely.
2,
that's what he has to do.
1. That is in the barrier.
Yeah. Commentator's curse. Is that like Yamagiwa, where we're going to have to wait for someone to crash into it before we give it a name?
Probably.
Because there's been a few guys quite close, hasn't there?
Probably.
But the guys at the front have closed up as well.
Yeah, Steve F1 is right on the back of SGP now. And interestingly, I mean, this is a situation where for Steve F1, if he can get past SGP pretty quickly, I think he can run away with this. For Mitch, I can imagine he's going to come up against a slightly more aggressive defence from SGP because that's who his rival is in the championship at the moment. But also, I don't think Mitch is going to want to hurt his tyres too much in this early phase of this stint.
No, I think I don't know whether SGP will try and back Steve F1 into Mitch and try and get them to fight, or if he'll just let Steve F1 go, but they're weaving about on the straight trying to find the right line. Steve F1 might go around the outside here.
Yeah, I think with the fresher tyres, easily, I was going to say easily done. It's not easily done because it's not easy to go around the outside, but with the fresher tyres you have got a bit more of an opportunity. Mitch has now really closed that gap in as SGP also went a little bit wide after Steve F1 had made the move, which would suggest that SGP's tyres may be suffering a little bit, or at least in comparison to Steve F1's and Mitch's, they're suffering, because I mean Mitch's and Steve's are brand new.
Yeah, so SJP pitted early. I think it was around 23 minutes that he pitted, so he's done, near enough what he did on the first stint now, and he's still got another 9 minutes to go, so it's going to be a long end to the race for SJP, I think.
Yeah, you could be right. And interestingly, looking at the track map as well, it looks like Demonar in 4th place has got Conrad closing in on him, so the cameraman may have to keep an eye on that one. Fluffy has broken away from the pack. He's halfway over the bridge.
Don't mention him. Just leave him alone. We haven't seen him on the track map.
I tell you what, I'll mention something else instead, right? You can interrupt me when Mitch makes the move on SGP. I've been doing a bit of...
no, Mitch is making a move on SGP.
Liar. Oh, well, no, he is actually. No, I've been doing a bit of geographical research recently, right? And I'm trying to find out interesting things about different places. I find it quite fascinating, interesting stuff. So it got me thinking about Hawaii and whether they're allowed to laugh loudly in Hawaii, or whether it's just aloha.
Right, anyway, Mitch is making the move on his GP. So we'll cut across that as he's going down the inside.
That's a lovely move. Well done.
Yeah, it's a lovely move, that.
Oh, yeah, SGP
just grinds the wall there.
It's interesting though that I think SGP's tyres they're definitely hurting, but if he pits,
he's going to be with the.
Yeah.
No, he won't be. He'll have it. He'll come out in front of them, but is it worth him pitting? And will he have enough? Will he get the extra lap time to see him catch up? But Conrad now, we are. You wanted the cameraman on them, and we've got Conrad on Demonar now.
Yeah, trying to have a look up the inside of the bridge. Demonar not giving a lot of space there. I think for SGP though, I mean, if he pits, he's out of it. If he can stay where he is, if the other two battle and have an error, he's in a chance of still winning the race. So Conrad has managed to recover. It's only taken 43 minutes to get him back up to the position that he kind of started in. Yeah, it was the position he started in. Started 5th, dropped down to 13th by turn 1. He's currently in 5th. With a chance of stealing 4th. It begs the question as well, what he could have done if he'd have not had the issues at the start of the race.
Yeah, we see from the lap times he is in the high 53s, a couple of 54s, but a lot more consistent than we've seen from Conrad this season, I think. So just look at the ripples on that straight there as well. Just I was looking at the track surface, quite bumpy coming into this first corner, but they're going to go not quite side by side through this first S.
I'm hearing from the race director that the ripples are caused by Gary's heavy braking. There's no additional pun on that one. I just made that up.
I was going to say with Dave the Harp's ashes, he chucked it out the window and melting the track. But
the best thing Dave the Harp has ever done when it comes to smoking was the time he told us he was driving on VR and he flicked his fag out the window. Okay, Connor making the move. Is he around the outside? Oh, talk about close. He's just about hung on to it around the outside there. I don't think Demonar's going to leave him to... Oh, wait, he has got no choice. Connor is ahead. A lovely move there from Conrad.
Yeah, it just gets ahead. Enough room left for a Demonar to get a car through. But, he defended quite well there, Demonar. But just unfortunately, I don't think his tyres are quite up to defending that position and keeping it, so see what happens with Conrad and Demonar if Conrad can break away.
Interestingly, looking at Demonar's lap times, he's been consistently in the 54s, and then the last lap was a 56.3. So I don't know whether that's tyres going off or concentration going off or whatever it may be. But yeah, Conrad has now taken that place. Twilight having a look at making a move on Gary. Jimmy's also there hunting as well. I'm just wondering what's happening with the leaders. It looks like the leaders have got a little bit spread out at the moment. Oh, Jimmy nearly hits that orange bit of barrier.
Jimmy nails that barrier.
Oh, boom, boom. Well done. I'm surprised I actually cottoned onto that one. Oh, this is a little bit treacherous, as Gary, Jimmy and Twilight were side by side. Twilight backed out of it, I don't blame him. Fluffy, he's definitely a glutton for punishment. I wondered if Fluffy has pitted again recently. Oh, he's just, I don't think he realised that Art Pal was next to him there as he's moved across. As we're looking at, I mean, Conrad's pulled out a big gap now on Demonar. Even though Connor's last lap was a 1:55, yeah, he's managed to make that position. Oh, be careful doing that.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be doing that every lap, because Demonar will take him back. Yeah, Demonar still close enough to make a move on Conrad if Conrad does make a mistake. So he just wants to do exactly like he does, getting rid of the pack, just concentrate on going forward as we go back to the pack actually.
Art Pal, Twilight, a little side by side, Fluffy right behind them. I've got to say, it's not an easy situation for any new driver to come into and to try and compete with these guys. I mean, at the end of the day, we know that a few of these guys can be pretty quick. As someone spinning around there? Or is it just my eyes? But yeah, I mean, to find yourself in this situation, everybody else here has driven in the pack before. For Art Pal, this is all new. He's got to work. I mean, it is difficult because you're focusing on where you're going, but you've also got to focus on the car. Barriers, Twilight barriers. Oh no.
Yeah, I think a few people managed to survive that we didn't think they would, but. Here's going to have a look at making a move now on the outside of Fluffy. No, Fluffy's actually ahead of him.
He's looking at Jimmy, but hasn't quite made the move back out of that one. Fluffy trying to move on Jimmy now, as Twilight is still in there. I think there was a bit of a concertina effect in the corner before the bridge, which resulted in cars going off there. Just I was trying to give Art Pal a bit of a compliment, saying that it's not easy to find yourself in this situation, especially as a very new driver. I mean, the likes of Jimmy have been there before. I mean, Jimmy took a very wise approach in one of the championships of sort of just sitting at the back and getting used to everybody. Now he's quite happy to hold his own in the fight there. Fluffy trying to make the move. I thought he was going to go for the pits.
Yeah, we're going to look the first corners, a few of them now. Going through, if they make it through this, I'll be very surprised. They do actually quite easily. Here, just pulling over the left-hand side as well.
Yeah, I don't know whether he had contact with someone there. Twilight got a bit twitchy, and that's Fluffy taking a little bit of journey across the grass. He's going to have to be careful. He's going to have dirty tyres now. The car's not going to want to slow down for him. Heading in to the hairpin. Twilight trying to make a move. David Harp still hasn't broke away. Jimmy was sideways there, I think.
Yeah, Gary Gritter just dropping some gravel on the track there.
He's not going to like that name. That could have done that for him for the Fords. Gary Gritter.
Just dropped a bit of gravel as he went off there to see Art Pal on the outside of Fluffy.
Connor, got breaking news for you. This is their last lap.
This is where it's at. Yep, I think they've all just been told as well by the engineers and Art Pal's. After a great race, the wheels just rotating there. But for Conrad and Demonar, this is the last corner.
You know what, Conrad has had a fantastic recovery drive here to come all the way through and finish in 4th place in the way that he has. I've got to say, brilliant job from him. Demonar, 5th place for him. He should be happy with that, although will he?
I think it's a battle between. I think they're both out of the championship hunt, but I think it's a battle between them two for for 4th place, I think.
Well, maybe, you know what, actually, yes, you could be right. Jason, by the way, has managed to break away from the pack. Dave the Harp is sitting in 7th place, but we've got Formula Gary, Twilight, Fluffy.
Gary touching up the young ones again.
Yeah, Jimmy's in there. Oh, Rich is there as well. Fluffy, he's dropped a few places just before the end. So that's the race over for everybody else back there. Steve F1 has opened up that gap on Mitch. SGP, yeah, not like
55s, yeah, he struggled since lap 21. I think his times really started going off.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned about the battle for 4th. I mean, Steve F1, if he can hold on to the position he's got at the moment, I think he jumps ahead of both Demonar and Conrad in the points, so that would put him 4th. So I think it's kind of a battle between Steve, Demonar and Conrad for that 4th place, with Steve F1 heading it off at the moment. And as he's making his way towards the last couple of corners, I said I'd got another Batman story for you. I heard a story between a conversation between Batman and Robin. It went like this, with Robin saying, "Hey Batman, the Batmobile won't start." And Batman says, "Check the battery." He goes, "What's the Terry?" Steve F1 is going to take victory here in Saint Croix, followed by a really bad joke, but actually not that bad. Steve F1 does take the win. Mitch, I think he'll be happy with 2nd place because he's finished ahead of SGP and he'll open up the championship points into this one for SGP. Went for the 1-stop strategy. From the looks of it though, the 2-stop was the way to go.
Yeah, and I hope these guys know which way around they're going next week.
Yeah, because it is another Saint Croix. But a very different Saint Croix though. Well, I say very different.
A very long Saint Croix.
Yes, it is. This track's turn 1 is next track's last corner, and this track's last corner is next track's turn 1. Other than that, the rest...
Not confusing at all, is it?
No, not at all. The rest...
Not confusing at all, that is.
No. I just need to know which way the corner goes after that. But yeah, I've got to say though, an interesting race there. It looks like Steve F1, Mitch and SGP are just on a completely different level once again. And as per usual, the pack was nothing short of dramatic, exciting, chaotic carnage and full of drama.
Yeah, some real oh shit moments in there as well. I think there's been more moments in that race than we've seen all season.
You could be absolutely right. You know what? You might be right. But what I will say is, experience does play a massive factor, because I think the last time we raced around this particular track, I think one driver crashed into the bridge 5 times at least, and there were multiple other drivers that also hit that barrier that sticks out on the bridge so many times, whereas this time there was a lot of people getting close and there was only a couple of people that sort of fell foul of it. But yeah, it's definitely been an interesting one to watch. Well, I say interested, I think I might have got a little bit frustrated partway through that, with me constantly saying, okay, he's got a chance, all he's got to do is not make a mistake. Oh no, he's made a mistake. But it's easy, I think, in a way, to sit there on the sidelines and go, oh, you should do this and you should do that. It's not that easy when you're in the hot seat. Yeah,
it's about what certain driving styles everyone has when they in front. I mean, you know, Dave the Harp could have been away. Fluffy definitely could have been away.
Well,
I think
he
made
was
a
away,
couple
wasn't
of
he?
unnecessary pit stops.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Jason somehow, I don't know how he ended up breaking away towards the end. But yeah, it almost does seem like, you I think hit the nail on the head earlier on, once people seem to be getting to the head of the pack, it does look like they're perhaps trying a little bit too hard to then break away, and by trying that a little bit too hard, a couple of errors creep in and they end up losing rather than gaining. Obviously it's not easy if every car behind you's got boost, but at the same time, boost doesn't keep cars behind you, it only allows them to catch up.
Yeah, I think we've seen that with Arpal as well. He seemed to be in the mix, and around the next track, obviously this track again, but the different layout, I think it's a long lap, so I think if someone does need to break away. There's plenty of corners that the boost won't be necessary anyway.
Yeah.
So they just need to sort of keep the head down, because it is a track that, you know, you get one part wrong, the next part comes up on you very quick, and you can compromise yourself by concentrating on what's behind instead of the next corner that's coming up.
Yeah, definitely. There's a very high speed part of that track where the beginning part of it is a tricky sort of 90-degree right hand corner, and if you accidentally think it's the corner before, then you go into it too fast and you end up on the grass and spinning, which means you're then losing every position and you slow down the fastest part of the track. But that's where that kind of, as you were saying, the awareness to go, well, not the awareness to go, but the awareness to realise, right, if I push hard, I'm going to lose, so let me make sure I get my corner entries right, then I can be fast on the way out on the fastest part of the track. Hopefully it'll be an interesting one, that's for certain, because it's definitely, even though it's the same location, it's a very, very different type of racetrack, and probably, I mean, I'm trying to think, there's at least 3 corners on that track which are absolutely brilliant. There's the long right-hander shortly after the bridge. There's on the back straight, the fast bit, there's kind of like it's almost like a chicane, but it's a very high speed chicane. But it's one of those where if you get it slightly wrong, disaster. But then also at the end of the bridge, which the corners before and after the bridge are very different. After the bridge there is probably the most evil little chicane you can imagine, and it's a set of corners where you do not want to be going through there too wide. Now, people will, it's just the nature of racing, but if you go through there too wide, you're going to get pounced on from the cars behind, because you're going to have to go so slow to make sure that you either A, don't drive off straight into a barrier, or B, don't push somebody straight off into the barrier. So yeah, it could be a little bit of a car park down at that corner.
Yeah, there's a little, it's not a curb on the inside, is it? It's like a little, like the last corner of this, the one we've just watched, it's like an Astro, isn't it? Yeah.
There's Astro on the right hand, and then the left hander there is the curb, but it's the wall on the exit, because like you've got white line, corner of a wall, bit like the start of the bridge on this race today. On the left hand side is very much like that, so yeah, we'll see people get caught out there. But then the long right hander after that is a phenomenal flat out corner, a bit like a reverse turkey turn 8. Really nice set of corners.
Yeah, you got to be patient as well, because it all sort of comes back on you on the last bit. If you keep it, you got to keep it flat out and sort of tight, because it sort of comes away from you, and then you can bring it back together in the last part. And I think the second to last corner is an evil one as well, because coming out of that right hander, you've got like a bumpy left hander that you can take quite high speed, but it'll catch you out, because again the wall comes up on you quite quick on the exit. Yeah,
and not only that, because you're coming around that fast long right hander, you have to kind of sweep over to the right hand side of the track, and if you go a touch too far and dip a wheel, then you could end up sideways before the corner. I must admit, I do really like the layout of the next track, because it's high speed, it's tricky, but it's going to keep drivers really on the edge of their seats. But not only that, it could potentially be the location of crowning the next DGT champion, because with Mitch finishing ahead of SGP today and opening up the points gap to him by a couple more points, I mean, I don't know the exact mathematics of it, I'll have to check in a moment, but we could be in a situation where I think if Mitch finishes first and SGP fourth or lower, it could potentially be over.
Right, so that'll be all pressure on SGP to try and stay there then.
Yeah, definitely. Or
could we see anybody else coming into play to try and interrupt that next week, do you reckon, or will it be the same 3?
I don't know. I mean, we could see the likes of Demon R and Conrad getting up in the battle. We could see Fluffy, or we could see any of the drivers doing it. I mean, it's one of those things where if there's one thing that Mitch hasn't done this championship, is he hasn't disappointed. And that has been the big key factor. He's not made errors in this championship, and that is why he's ended up with wins and second places, and he's leading the championship. Now he's in a situation where if he was to have an error at the next race, it's not going to be that costly. Even if he had a DNF, an SGP1, he's still got a chance of winning the championship, and that's a really good position to be in. The pressure in a way is off him, and he doesn't even need to sort of focus about it and think about it, whereas for SGP he needs to win, and then he needs others to beat Mitch.
Yeah, so it's going to be a good race to watch, but I just feel that I think Mitch will probably have the pace again. He works his tyres as well, and it's a long lap to sort of to work your tyres quite hard, and there is a lot of corners. So I'm wondering what his tyre wear will be like next week.
Yeah. Well, I think his tyre wear will probably be similar to this week, where he'll struggle a little bit towards the end of the stints, but he's made the 2 stops work for him this championship. He knows the 1 stops aren't on for him. He hasn't got the tyre life for it, but what he has got is fast enough pace to make 2 stops work. So I think from pretty much race 1, that's basically the way he's gone about it, isn't it? He's sort of gone, right, I know I'm hurting my tyres, so I'll go for the 2 stops, but I'm going to be rapid in between them. Yeah,
definitely, and I think that's what's sort of getting him the championship lead.
Yeah,
is just his sheer pace on new tyres.
Yep, definitely. Right, okay, I think it's time to let you go and spend some time with your missus. You can tell her the Batmo joke, and I've been desperately waiting to say that one all week. Yeah, well, at least I'm not that nasty. So yeah, right, let's thank you, Connor, for joining us on commentary once again.
Yeah, no problem. I always enjoy it, so hopefully be back next week.
And let's have a look at what the confirmed race result is there and what that's done to the championship standings. Here we go then with the confirmation of the result for race 7. Steve F1 taking the victory in the maximum 20 points. Mitch, as I mentioned, extends his lead at the top of the title fight. Second place, 17 points for him, with SGP finishing in 3rd. Conrad finished in 4th ahead of Demon R in 5th. Jason somehow managed to fight through the pack to finish in 6th place ahead of Dave the Harp in 7th place. And Formula Gary, I think it's the first time in a while we've seen him in that top 8. And perhaps deserving it on this occasion. Okay, in 9th place is Twilight, and he finished just ahead of Jimmy. As you can see, Jimmy has received a -3 point penalty. Rich Blues finished in 11th, Fluffy in 12th, Bunsel 13th, Hay in 14th, who's got a -6 point penalty for 2 penalties, and Hay finished ahead of Art Powell in 15th, and SRI did not finish. There were quite a few incidents reported, with obviously a few penalties being given out, so I would advise checking the Facebook page for the details on those. I think for Hayes it was 2 separate incidents that have resulted in penalties. Right, let's have a look at what that has done to the championship standings then, and we mentioned Mitch leading the way, 124 points. He has the possibility of wrapping up the championship at the next race. He's 15 points ahead of SGP, who is in 2nd place. So, bigger than a 5-point gap, and Mitch could win it at the next round. Steve F1 has got himself up into that 3rd place. He's now 2 ahead of Demon R in 4th, Conrad in 5th, Fluffy in 6th, Dave up to 7th, and Jason up to 8th. Twilight now drops down to 9th place on 43 points, but he's ahead of Rich Blues on 37, and then a bit of a gap to Bunsel, and then 1 point between Bunsel in 11th and Gary in 12th. Jimmy sits 13th on 24 points ahead of Tyler, SRI and Art Powell, who gets on the board with his 1 point, and unfortunately Hayes' -6 point penalty puts him into the negative in 17th place. I know the admins are never keen on handing out penalties, but sometimes it has to be done. But yeah, there were quite a few incidents reported. What I would say is I would never sort of really stop anybody from putting reports in, but I would say the incidents could do with being reduced a little bit where possible. Okay, next race is Croix A. Same tyres, same location, very different layout as we mentioned. A lot of 90-degree corners, a lot of high-speed sections of the track. But will we have the same person standing on the top step of the podium? Will we see Mitch crowned as the next DGT champion? Is SGP going to have anything to fight him with to try and get his second title? There's only one way to find out. You'll have to come and check out all of the action here at Dynamic GT League. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all again soon.